Well, I think part of being a parent is you want to see your children succeed, but you want them to make their own choices. And that's why we always said, we'll be behind you. We're behind you 110%. So it was like you knew what you wanted to do. And that's another, you're very strong-willed. So I knew just by your personality that this is what you wanted to do. And so that's why we just wanted to support you as much as we possibly could. Was I anxious that you weren't applying for jobs? Of course I was. I was like, oh man, here he is. You could have gotten a job anywhere making good money because you graduated from Bentley, but this is what you decided to do.
Microphone check 212. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to It's the Bearded Man podcast with your favorite, the world's favorite bearded man. I can't believe I'm saying this, but today on the podcast, it's my mom. What up?
Hi, Bobby, my favorite bearded man.
I didn't even get to finish the intro. I usually come with Bobbbaaaay, but no. I got you looking across at me, and I'm all flustered up. How do you feel about doing this right now?
I'm looking forward to it. I mean, I've watched so many of the ones that you've had or listened to, so I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
Well, I think, I did. Dad was a guest for episode 33 way back in the day. So
because of Larry Bird.
Because of Larry Bird, because everyone knows him as Bird. And that was recorded that would have been, I think, probably March of 2017.
Oh my gosh.
So I think it was worth you to wait because I didn't know what I was doing as a podcaster then.
Right.
So I think about the podcaster or who I was when I started doing the podcast, and I interviewed him for 33 to now kind of where I'm at. And you know what they say, save the best parent for last.
Thank you. We won't tell him that though.
He won't even know how to play this. So you don't even have to worry about him fucking finding it. But what I didn't tell you and what I didn't realize until last night when I was laying in bed after we got back from dinner at John's, I knew that I was doing this podcast with you, and I was thinking about, I was like, when is this going to come out? And because of the way I'll be scheduling it, this will come out on February 8th.
Oh, jeez.
Your 60th birthday.
My 60th birthday.
60 years young.
Oh, my gosh.
Looking like you're going on 23.
Oh, jeez. 60.
So I think that's timing is everything, and I think that's a pretty cool. I wouldn't say it's a gift from me to you, but I love that it just so happened that that's kind of how the scheduling will be when this comes out. So I just want to share that with you before we get into it.
That's awesome. I'll be looking forward to it.
I'm sure you're eagerly going to be counting down the days.
Oh, God.
It's just a number.
It is just a number, and I don't even feel like I don't like saying the number out loud.
Yeah.
Usually my birthdays have never bothered me.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I'm going to be 60. I don't think I act like I'm 60, like I'm going to be 60.
What do you act like? What's the age you think?
I think I'm more like 40, I think.
Crank it down.
Yeah.
32.
32? Okay. All right. 32. I don't think it's like you say, it's just a number.
Yeah.
But like I say, what's my alternative? If I don't keep having them, then that means I'm going to be dead. So
that's not good. We need to keep that number.
So we got to keep
them
going.
Yeah. No, I think age is just. To me, as you get older, I feel like if you embrace it, you kind of cherish it, and you look at it from like all the years which you probably learned in the past to kind of where you are today. But I think 60 is a great number. Yeah,
and I kind of think like, Dad and I are like cool parents. Like you
100%.
guys, when you come home, it's like you want to spend time with us.
Yeah.
And so, like I say, I think that's the part that it's like, it's just a number, and anxious to see what's going to happen after that.
Fireworks are going to be flaring on 8th. I'm sure Bird's already got it lined up. He's probably got you a limo, the whole works.
No, he probably doesn't have anything going. It'll be up to me.
He'll be calling me 2 weeks out. What should I do for your mom for her birthday?
Yeah, I know it.
I know it. Freaking pulling strings. We got so much to discuss today. I'm really excited for this.
Good. I'm glad. Me too.
Very excited for this.
I'm excited.
First thing I kind of wanted to jump off with would be, we're going to cover a lot today. We're going to cover pretty much you as a mother. We'll cover, just to give you some context, we'll go into some of like your childhood and being raised with other siblings, and then we'll kind of just see where this thing takes us, and then we'll dive into a little bit of you and Bird too.
Okay.
We'll get a little bit of that, but 27 years of being a mother, with me just recently turning 27. So thank you for birthing me and bringing me into this.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank
it
you
was
so
a
much.
joy.
Ladies and gentlemen, if you're listening, you got to be thankful for this woman, because if it wasn't for her, you wouldn't be hearing this voice.
Right.
And first off, thank you for the beard.
Oh, yeah. Well, you weren't born with it.
I wasn't born with it?
Thank God.
Well, my running joke has been I came out the womb like that.
Unfortunately, for your listeners, I had a C-section, so you didn't come out of the womb.
Oh, there we go. There goes that fucking storyline. What have been some of the biggest challenges you faced as a mom?
I think always wondering, am I doing the right thing? And I think that's one thing I used to always say to you guys when you were small, you and your sister. It's like there's not a book. There's not a book on what is right or what is wrong. You just have to follow your heart and do what you think is the best. So I always tried to make sure that you guys always knew that you were loved. And the one thing I always tell people is that no matter when you left, how many times you left, we always say, I love you. When you walk out the door, I love you. When we're on the phone, I love you. And I used to always, chuckle after I got off the phone with you, like when you were in college or when you were with your friends, and it would be like, I knew they'd be around and we'd hang up the phone and I'd say, I love you. And you'd be like, I love you too. And knowing that you're in the room with your friends, but you always said that, and your sister's like that too. No matter where you are, when we're talking, we always end up with I love you.
Yeah. It's actually interesting when you say that, like, there's no book on it, because I think now, especially if you're having kids in 2020, there's all this media, there's all these YouTube videos, there's so much inbound of resources of how to be the best parent, which I think could be overwhelming because there's so many different outlets, where I would imagine in the 90s when you're raising us, there isn't this influx of media to look and gravitate towards. You probably had to either pull from experiences from how your mom raised you, or maybe there were books, or it was probably the opinions of other people of like, this is how you should do it.
Right.
It's just different, I would think, now than if you're raising a kid with all the media.
Yeah, there was no social media. My first cell phone was when you were probably 6 months old. It was
like a brick, right?
It was like a big brick. I got it at the Crystal Mall in Connecticut. And my cell phone number was an 860 number.
Oh,
and I didn't
CT
care.
Number, come on.
I didn't care, and I think I got it free if I made a purchase at the mall, which of course, you know me with my shopping.
Swipe.
That wasn't hard to do. But and in those days, you rarely even used it. I just used it in case I was driving somewhere and I had you and there was an emergency.
Yeah.
But other than that, you wouldn't even. I never gave it a thought to pick up the phone and be talking.
Yeah.
While I was driving.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it was just a necessity to just have it for an emergency.
It's funny you bring up the shopping thing, where you know me when it comes to shopping, because the last podcast that I dropped of this year, I talked about how just in my life, how when I have a goal, I kind of get my heart set on it and I find a way to execute and do it. And I told the story of how you would always say that to me growing up, where it's like, and I think it was mostly material items. If it was a new shoe or it was a video game, you'd always say, you're just like me. When you have your heart set on something, you always find a way to get it. But I laughed on the podcast because I said, I think she was talking from a materialistic standpoint. But the concept, it goes across the board, everything else that you do.
Well, your sister always says to me, her thing is wants versus needs.
Yeah.
And I always say, well, I don't need it, but I want it.
So you can rationalize.
So I can rationalize anything.
Yeah. How would this podcast is so interesting because I'm most of the times when I'm doing these podcasts, I'm interviewing people, and I'm essentially interviewing you as well today. But I think it's like a twofold thing where I'm curious to have some of these answers documented and recorded for a lifetime, and then because not only for my own personal interest, but then the people that have followed me along this journey of podcasting. Like, I think this episode is going to be so important because it's going to. just the normal kid that just kept doing this thing, and
you're
it's
right.
taken me to some incredible places. But how would you? And I think I've definitely described myself as a child through all these podcasts over the years, but it's going to be so different to hear your perspective on things. But how would you describe me as a child?
The first word that comes to my mind was dramatic.
I will. Good. You're not letting it. You're not. Look, there was no. By the way, there was no preview or conversation to this podcast of like, make me sound good, make me look good, Mom. You got to hype me up. Like, there's none of that. So here you go, ladies and gentlemen. This is the real shit.
Dramatic. Oh my gosh, I will never forget the time you fell. You either fell off your bike or you were running and you skinned your knee, and we had to carry you around because you were afraid to put pressure on your knee, on your leg. And we had to, and then we ended up having to take you to the doctor because it wasn't healing right. Do you remember that?
How old was I?
You were probably
the only knee problem is when at Cody Hammond's before I went to California in 5th grade. That's the only knee one that I can think of, that story.
No, this was you were younger. Yeah, you were younger because I don't think I would have been able to carry you around when you were in 5th grade. You were a little tall back then. You were chubby too. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Bird,
you
for
need to
taking
post a picture about that
Bird,
one.
Thanks for taking me to frickin' McDonald's, loading me up to get my little toy.
Yeah, but that's what we had to do because in those days we were carting you and your sister all over. Yeah. You were playing you were doing soccer and basketball.
I still wasn't burning the calories off because I was carrying an extra 50 pounds on me.
Well, that's it. But then all of a sudden after you got out of grammar school and you went to middle school, because I used to look at you and I'm like, oh, okay. I mean, I always loved you, but
I was a chubster.
You were a little chubby, and then all of a sudden you hit that growth spurt, and that was it. That was
out,
it. You thinned,
started looking good,
out.
Started growing them sideburns, baby. That beard came along.
Yeah. But I mean, I think of all the times of driving you guys around in our big Ford Expedition.
Yeah.
And you'd be like, you guys would be sitting in the second seat, and then you'd have your food, and you'd be like, Mom, what should I do with the leftover bag? And I'd be like, just throw it in the back in the third seat. So you'd pitch it in the back, and then every day or two I'd go and clean it all out. But and that ended up becoming your first vehicle.
Yeah,
the Ford Expedition.
I used to do some gnarly donuts in that car.
I don't want to hear that.
In the KFC parking lot right near our house. Fucking the snow would come on. I'd put in 4-wheel drive, do some donuts. Shouldn't have done that, but I was reckless and didn't know what I was doing.
But you know what? I'll never forget when you first got your driver's license, and as a parent of all of a sudden having to cart you around all the time, and then when you drove away and I watched you drive up the street, and I was like, oh, there he goes. That's it. You know what I mean?
Do you remember where I went? Because I do. When I drove away for the first time.
No.
Hoyoke Mall.
Really?
Yeah, I still remember. I don't know why. Yeah.
The Hoyoke Mall.
Dramatic actually still makes sense to me. That's the word that comes to mind because I remember too. You guys took me to Fitzpatrick to ice skate.
Oh God, yes. We brought you to get your ice skates. I mean,
he probably wanted me to become a hockey player.
Oh, of course he did. So you had your ice skates, you had your Mighty Duck jacket on in the back. You had everything. You walked out on the ice, you fell on your ass, you started crying, and that was it. That was your career in hockey.
How old was I?
You were probably like maybe 5 or 6. That was it. And you did not want to go back.
Wow.
And so we never, those hockeys, we probably still have them in the cellar.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bird. Let you down as a hockey.
I know. We never forced you to do anything that you didn't want to do.
Yeah.
And like I say, I think I was kind of, in the end, I was kind of glad because when I look at what hockey parents go through with their kids, the money that it costs, the timing, the commitment. And I loved you. I would have done anything.
Oh, thank you. I loved you too. Still do.
I still love you too. But I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, thank God it didn't work out because it's expensive. It was expensive, and
it didn't work out.
Well,
going off of what you just said, we were always supportive of like what you did. That's something that I really took appreciation as I got older, especially post college. And one of the most pivotal moments I think of my life was when I graduated Bentley. I tell you guys, hey, I'm not getting a job. I came back home. I tried a couple of summer ideas that didn't work out. I went back to working for Uncle John. I did that alcohol thing that shit the bed.
Yeah.
And then I pretty much told you guys that I wasn't applying for a job. I was going to go to Boston. I was going to drive Uber full time, and I was going to start this podcast, this idea that I had. That was a very pivotal moment because you guys just encouraged. You guys were very supportive in the sense of like, if that's what you want to do it. But just know that like college loans are kicking in 6 months. So you're going to have to figure that out. So it was like the most encouragement I could have ever asked for without you guys having to step in and like offer to help me financially to take care of that. So it put me in a position where it's like, there's a fire under my ass. I need to figure this out because these bills are going to click in. But that is just one moment of like all these other things growing up that whether it was, learning to play guitar or like you went out and rented me an Xbox when my other one was like freaking getting sent into Microsoft. So my question is, why were you and Dad so just supportive of like allowing Alyssa and I to kind of do the things that we were interested in and just support us to the extent, like fully support us? Because there's a lot of parents that, going back to the college thing, I was graduating, I had kids at Bentley that literally, when we talk about careers, this is so crazy to think about now, freaking 4 years later, and just like how much different of a position I am in my life than when I was then, because I was scared as shit. But I had kids that I went to college with that they're like, you didn't apply for a job? And I was like, no. They're like, dude, my parents have made me apply for like 15 positions and they're forcing me to get a job that I don't even want to do. So why were you and Dad so like open to Alyssa and I just doing the things that we wanted to do?
Well, I think part of being a parent is you want to see your children succeed, but you want them to make their own choices. And that's why we always said, we'll be behind you. We're behind you 110%. So it was like you knew what you wanted to do. And that's another, you're very strong-willed. So I knew just by your personality that this is what you wanted to do. And so that's why we just wanted to support you as much as we possibly could. Was I anxious that you weren't applying for jobs? Of course I was. I was like, oh man, here he is. You could have gotten a job anywhere making good money because you graduated from Bentley. But, this is what you decided to do. And then part of me is like, all right, well, at least he's only going to be in Boston, because you had always talked about going to California. So I'm like, all right, well, he's only going to be in Boston. So you're closer, and, it was just, I working in my job at a bank, I see so many parents whose adult children still live with them. And it's like, that's not what I want for you and your sister. I want you to go out and do what you need to do to be happy, and so that's why no matter what, and when your sister said she was moving to Charleston, and when you guys both moved on the same weekend,
same day, same 24 hours.
The same 24 hours, Dad and I driving with Alyssa one way to Charleston, and you picking up Evan at the bus stop, bus station to go to California. It was, that was like a pivotal moment. It was like the Hoberts were on the road. And, sometimes I look back where, people their kids will come home. Like we were just we were out somewhere, and someone said, oh, my kids are home. Of course, now they're bringing their significant others, a fiance or whatever.
You don't have to worry about me. I'm flying solo still,
baby.
I
know it. And they said, so she said to me, she says, she's like, I couldn't wait for them to leave. And she said to me, don't you feel that way? And I said, absolutely not. And so she kind of looked at me, and so I said, maybe it's different for me. I said, because my kids, I said the last time I saw them was in July. So for you guys to come home, I'm kind of in a state of denial. Like, while you guys are here, it's like, okay, this is going to go on forever. This is not going to change. You know what I mean? It's our family unit. But I would never, ever, I mean, when you guys are here, when you leave, I know you tell me now, no more tears, and I'm getting used to it. But for her to say that, I was just like, no, I cherish every single moment that you guys are here with me.
Yeah. I think it's just in that situation, she is, I don't want to say taking it for granted, but she probably has access to her kids a lot more than you have access to Alyssa and I.
Right.
Which then sometimes it even becomes like, even though I am living 3,000 of my, like I literally couldn't live farther away in the U.S. than where I chose to be in L.A.
Unless you won't move to Hawaii.
Unless I move to Hawaii, but the mainland at least.
Yeah, the mainland.
The mainland. But even then, I still you can argue like, well, if you lived in Massachusetts still, like you would have a better relationship with your parents, and I do know that would be a fact that I would see you guys more often. But then I even feel like, too, even being that far away, I still have probably a strong relationship with you and Dad than there's people that probably live in Boston from Western Mass.
Yeah.
So then it becomes like, what does their communication line even look like? So then it doesn't even matter if you live down the street or if you live 3,000 miles away, because if there's no communication, what's the distance even really matter?
Well, that's the thing. You and your sister, like, you get it. Like, you'll all of a sudden on a Monday or a Tuesday, whatever, you'll just send me a text and just say, I love you, have a great day, or have a great week. There's not, and your sister will do it, not as much as you do.
She's getting there.
She's getting
there. I'm training
there.
her.
But she'll say that, all of a sudden she'll just say, I love you, Mama, and that to me means so much, because there's a lot of parents that don't have the relationship with their kids that we have.
Yeah.
And, when I look at our family unit, and it's like, I couldn't ask for a better family.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I just, I'm getting teary now, but I just sitting here across from you, it just makes me so proud, because you've just grown up into such a great man, and I couldn't be any prouder of you. I'm sorry.
Nah, don't be sorry. I mean, this is the thing. We are products. This is why I literally freaking tattooed Massachusetts on my left bicep. Not because I have big arms, but because...
Well, you do.
Oh, yeah.
You're
sure,
buff.
it's getting all the ladies fired up listening to this one.
He is single and looking to mingle.
But this is the thing. We are all products of our environment.
Right.
So it is non-negotiable. It is unquestionable that the reason Alyssa and I are who we are is because of you and Dad. And then even then layer on to then the family that is surrounded on both sides. So I have, even in just the last, since really the most growth that I feel, I mean, there's always growth year over year, but from graduating college till now, in just that 4 years, the amount of like my thought process and like the way I view the world, and even just in the last 3 months of like just being more awoke to the reality of like this is not some infinity game that we're living. Like this all is going to end. You got to embrace the experience while you can. And so then it's, I do those texts because it's like another fucking tattoo that I got, gratitude. It's like reminding myself of the people and the things that I should be grateful for. And I know that me taking 6 seconds to send that text to you could literally make your day. And all it took me was 6 seconds. So I try to do that as often as I can without, it's supposed to be more like not a surprise, but like
spontaneous.
Yeah. If I do it every day, it becomes...
Yeah, it will be like, oh, here comes my text.
Here comes the fucking text.
Here comes my text.
It's probably automated at this point. He's not even sending the damn text. But, I mean, yeah, it's like, it's without a question of a doubt, literally, Alyssa and I wouldn't be who we are, think the way we do, and just be the person we are if it wasn't for what you and Dad had instilled in us.
Yeah.
So you guys deserve the credit as much as you might think that we deserve credit because of who we've evolved to.
Well, it means a lot, it really does, because going back, there wasn't a handbook on what we needed to do, but we just followed our hearts and did what we thought was the best thing, and I guess it worked.
Oh, you did pretty good.
Yeah, I guess so.
What moments have I caused you the most trouble as a mother?
You were so perfect. I don't even know. Let's see.
Bullshit.
When you got your job, one of your jobs at when you worked at the mall at Foot
Finish
Locker.
line.
Finish line.
Hey, don't say Foot Locker.
Oh yeah,
Finish line.
Finish
Put some
line.
respect on my.
And you would be, it's quarter of 1, and I'd be like, oh, what time do you have to be to work for?
Even you just saying that right now, I don't.
And it's like, I got to be to work for 1, and I'm like, you're going to the mall. You're going to go on the highway. What if there's an accident? What if you're in traffic? You need to leave earlier. And that was one thing I always was like, you got to be early. So you would give me anxiety for that.
You actually helped me get that job, I think, because you told me to dress up and go in and introduce yourself to the manager. So I applied online, and then you said you should dress up and go and introduce yourself to the manager. And I did, and I got an interview within 3 days.
First impressions, that's what you have to do. And then that Randy Pausch book there.
The last lecture.
The last lecture, it was writing a letter. Remember when you went to Bentley and you had your interview, and then I said, you need to write a handwritten note to the woman that had interviewed you.
Yep.
And then you didn't get in. And that was okay, because then you ended up transferring, the next year. But I had called when you didn't get in. And I talked to the woman, and she said, you had everything that they were looking for, but it was your grades. So, and then a year, but I just made that extra effort just to find out, because I was kind of like, why wouldn't they? We did everything you did everything you were supposed to do, and why didn't you get in? But you know what? You wouldn't have met the people that you did at LaSalle.
Yeah.
Evan, your friend for life.
Yeah.
So like I say, it everything. I always say everything works out for a reason, and whatever will be will be.
Yeah.
You just have to follow your heart.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of crazy to just think about that whole Bentley process, because I was so gung-ho on getting into that school and then not getting in, and definitely didn't do good on my SATs, but still found a way to get in, going to LaSalle and then transferring in,
and we had never even heard of LaSalle. We got a thing to apply for free.
Yeah.
So I was like,
right.
Let's apply for that. It's free.
Oh, yeah. Well, I remember when I didn't get into Bentley. I remember like it was yesterday. I was walking to LA Fitness in Springfield, got the email, you're not accepted. I was like, screw this, went in, did a workout, came home, and I literally think I walked in, said, I didn't get into Bentley. I'm packing my bags. I'm going to Santa Monica Community College. I'm getting fuck out of here.
That was causing me stress when then you were applying for
USC,
and I'm like, well, he's got a snowball's chance getting in there. So, yeah, you started applying to all these colleges in California. I'm like, oh, God, please don't let him get in. Don't let him get in.
Oh, yeah. And they all shot me down.
I wasn't ready for that.
USC shot me down. Pepperdine shot me down. Loyola Marymount shot me down. Every school in California shot me down.
And I kept saying to you, if you get into that college, we're not going to see you until Christmas, because we can't afford to fly you back and forth.
Yep. I wanted to go. I wanted the California dream.
Yeah, well, you're living it now.
What is there a moment that I made you most proud as a parent? Like a specific moment?
Oh, gosh. Most proud. Oh, there's I think just knowing you and just watching you where you are right now, making the decisions, when you stopped having to drive for Uber.
Yeah.
And it's funny because you won't tell me the good news. You don't want to bring me down if it doesn't happen. So you're always like, well, I didn't want to tell you this. I didn't want to tell you this last week, but this is going to happen. So when you got the text from Brandon, it was like, I don't want to get you all, worked up on it, but, he wants to meet with me. And, there's just so many moments, going back to Mrs. Crandall, your first grade teacher, and how she said that there was a young boy in class, and how I don't know if he was special needs or what, but she came over to me and she said, he someday is going to do something of greatness because he's so patient with this young boy who was always acting up in class. And she said, and Bobby would go over there and would sit next to him and just calm him down. So right there, that was one of my, and you were young then. Excuse me. And then I can picture things like when you used to play basketball.
Wasn't great.
But we went to all your games, and then when you decided to be a manager, okay?
Oh, yeah.
And I still have that, I was flicking through pictures and seeing you standing there as the manager. And you had your white shirt and you had your tie on, and you were just standing there, and it was like, this is what you're meant to do. So just being there as that happened too, it was like you weren't meant to play basketball. You were meant to do something else. You were more like a leader, and I think that is another thing too, is your leadership. You've made with all these interviews that you've done with people, it's just watching you from the beginning to where you've come from. It's just, I think your life in general is just, you've made me proud your whole life. I can't think of anything negative. Maybe I forget about the bad things.
Oh, I got plenty of them, but I won't bring them up. we were telling the story last night of when you and Dad, I think, were down in Connecticut, and we threw a little get together here. And then one of our neighbors that no longer is in the neighborhood spilled the beans and called it in on us.
Probably because there was 4 or 5 cruisers out in front of the house. And she calls me, and here I am an hour and a half away. And she's like, Karen, I just want to let you know that there's this party going on at your house, and the cops are there. Now, I had been drinking, so there was no way, because believe me, if I hadn't been, I would have jumped in my car. And so then the next morning, so we slept, we got up the next morning. I said to your dad, I'm like, we are getting home. We walked in here. The floor was like all sticky, and you had to work the next day.
I'm glad you remember that.
And you were hungover, and you're like, I don't feel like. I said, you get your ass to work. But then, of course, Dad being OCD, we had the house cleaned up in no time. But we had to. That was when I think someone kicked in your door. On your bedroom door, which I finally just fixed that a month or so ago.
Somebody, we mapped it all out yesterday, so I forgot about the door. Somebody kicked in the door. There was a fight in our kitchen. Somebody drove their car through the city of Chicopee's fence across the street.
Oh, yeah.
And there was a lot of other reckless things.
Yeah, that was, and then poor Alyssa, she comes home from the Beyonce concert with Julia, and so I think she was the one that, because she was sober, I think she's the one that started kicking people out.
Yeah, she was equally at fault. She was inviting friends too, so let's keep it 50-50.
She's my little angel. I don't think she would have done that.
Don't make me throw up on this freaking microphone, all right? We all know, when you got your new little Mac, and you had to show me something yesterday, but little did you know when you went to sign on, there's a little bubble picture. And it has to be you and Alyssa. Couldn't it be me, you, and us 3?
But see, you know what? I don't even know how it got there. So don't even worry about choosing favorites. That's the picture that comes up when she calls me. But I don't know how it ended up. I think it's my Apple. I don't even ask me. Yeah. I don't even know. If it bothers you that much, go change it.
We're letting it slide. We're letting it slide.
Okay.
Give me a story that most people might not know about me. Could be for good, for bad, for worse, funny, whatever.
Oh my gosh.
What's one that jumps in mind?
Well, like when you first went to daycare. Oh God. And here I am, you were only in daycare 2 days a week.
How old am I at this time? Like 4 or 5?
Oh no, because I was only let's see, because Grandma used to take care of you. So you were probably 1 or 2 when you started going to daycare.
Wow,
when you went to Brighter Beginnings. Shout out to Lily Krause that I knew from kindergarten.
Karen Hobert's giving shout outs today.
Yep, shout out to Lily Krause. And here I had to drop you off, and you definitely were very bonded to me. And I remember that first day, and the thing is, you had to be potty trained in order to go to daycare, and I was like, oh God, I got to get him potty trained. So I thought you were, and so I drive you, I drop you off. And then I can just see your little face to this day, and you're just looking out the window. And I'm driving to work, and I'm crying. And I called. Then I had a cell phone, and I remember I think I called Auntie Susie, and I'm like, I feel like such a bad mom. He's in the window and he's crying. So then I had to pick you up that day. And now this is your first day, and I walk in, and there you are, bare-assed in the bathroom because you had an accident. And it was like all of a sudden you just saw me, and it was like a look of like, oh my God, my mom is here, you know? And then the teachers used to write me little notes. Well, Bobby had a okay day today.
Put in my lunchbox for you guys to find the note.
It took you a little while to kind of get used to, used to getting there. But then, and then Sam went, Julia was there. So at one time, you guys, all 4 of you were there at the daycare.
Was this when I had curly hair?
This is when you had curly hair. Yes. Yeah. This is when you had curly hair.
Well, it's interesting you're saying that story, because then what just popped in my mind is I remember in 3rd grade, I started seeing a counselor at Barry. What was it? I was like, didn't I start getting anxiety, or like I was like scared that you and Dad were gonna?
Yeah.
What was the story behind that?
I think you just got to the point where you were just you were like suffering from anxiety because you were afraid that we were gonna die.
Yeah.
And I
think it was 3rd grade.
Yeah.
Right?
So I had you just you saw a counselor at school.
Yeah. So I remember, I can literally picture the counselor. I just can't remember her name.
Yeah.
Black hair.
Yeah. And they would just talk, to you, and you didn't go for that long, but I think it was just you were very sensitive.
Yeah.
You were a sensitive kid.
I wouldn't sleep over a friend's house until I was like in 5th grade.
You were just like me.
Yeah.
I didn't want to sleep over, and I would be like, you would say, oh, so-and-so wants me to sleep over, and I would always say, just tell him I won't let you. Just blame it on me, know, and that's how I was too. When I would go over for a while, and then at a certain time, I would say, okay, Mom, come and pick me up, and Grandma would come and pick me up.
Definitely pulled the audible a couple of times where I was like, I'm doing it, and then at midnight, you probably got the phone call.
Oh, yeah. But that was okay.
But then you gave me the keychain. That was my...
Oh, that was, it's downstairs. That was in kindergarten.
Every time I come home, you go, do you want to take your keychain back to
California? Oh, my God. That was from that little keychain.
Bed Bath & Beyond.
That was from Bed Bath & Beyond.
Yep.
And that was when you started kindergarten. And, and then when you were having anxiety, and so I gave it to you, and I said, just put it in your pocket, and when you start feeling anxious or you start missing us, then you just put your hand in your pocket and know that we're thinking of you. And I mean, that thing came on like a thing of like hand lotion or whatever.
You could have bought me a little freaking specific keychain. You said, nope, it's coming.
Well, it was the only thing I had around. I was working on the fly here. I was like, oh, what can I give this kid? And it's still down. It's still down there.
Yeah. Oh, it's so crazy just thinking of like little stories like that.
Your POC when you couldn't, if you had a hard time sleeping. POC. Yeah.
Yeah. Trying to get me to bring that back to California, not happening.
I think I sent it to you one time.
No, you never sent it. It's downstairs. I saw it when I was working out.
I think I sent it. You
sent it to me in college. And I said,
did. I sent it to you in college.
Freaking mind? What are you? People are like, "What's that?" I'm like shoving it back in my freaking dress. I'm like, "Don't worry, she sent this by accident." I don't know what the hell this thing is. Yeah, let me pull up my POC, Mom.
POC was the protector of children.
Yeah. Well, actually, going off of college, I wanted to ask this before and I didn't. What was the biggest challenge that you faced when I left for college for the first time? I mean, when I moved to California, I think was another big leap. I was moving across the country, but that the move to LaSalle was the first time that I was your children were leaving the house, and I still remember hugging you guys goodbye. And actually, there's a funny story that I'll tell you the story, and then I want to hear your feedback. But I remember, so I hugged you guys goodbye. It was not easy to say goodbye, and I'll never forget. The next day, I got a phone call from either you or Dad, and you guys were checking in, like, how was it sleeping in your bed for the first time? And what was so funny about it was that me and Evan were little on the prowl already, and neither of us had slept in our room that night. We had slept in the same. These two girls that we had met, we had slept in their room. So you guys had called, and I bluffed it. I was like, "Oh, it was great," and I hung up, and me and him were dying. I was like, "Dude, they were asking about how I slept in my bed. I haven't even slept in it yet." But
yeah, you and Evan were the kings of LaSalle.
Oh, fuck, man, we were. Yeah, that was hell of a year. But what was the biggest challenge with me leaving for college?
Well, here you've been in our lives for 18 years. And the night before you left for college, Dad and I think you must have been out. I don't know if you were saying goodbye to friends or whatever. And I remember Dad and I stood in your bedroom, and we just like hugged each other, and we just cried.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe he's going to be leaving. It was, it was a big thing because you've been under our roof, and now all of a sudden you're going to go off on your own. And, but we didn't want you to see us being upset, because then we figured, well, then you would be upset. So, I mean, it was an adjustment, but then again, it was like, this is part of what you needed to do. You had always said you were going to go to, you wanted to go away to school. And, if for you to go to school around here, it wouldn't have made any sense. You needed to go away.
Yeah, I also got shot down by UMass Amherst, which was my safety school.
Yeah, they put you on a wait list.
They put me on a wait list, and I said, "Are you fucking kidding me?"
Yeah, I
couldn't believe that.
I know, I couldn't believe that either. But
it all worked out.
I think if you would have gone there, you probably maybe would have stayed there. You wouldn't have, because your buddy is the one who said,
John Williams.
He's the one that said you need to.
He didn't get into Bentley either as a freshman, and so we met, and he was in the same building as me. And then he told me that he was applying to Bentley as a transfer, and he's the one that truthfully, I don't even know if he realizes this, but he was the reason that inspired me. Like, I never even thought about transferring into Bentley.
Right.
But I was fortunate because that whole year, that first year at LaSalle, I just was like, I want to prove to myself that I could have been at Bentley. And I just I think my first year at LaSalle was a 3.7 GPA.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I went off. I was part of the leadership society and whatnot. But to me, it motivated me to prove to myself that I was, quote unquote, smart enough to crush it in college. And then it was great because by the time I realized I wanted to transfer, which was in the spring, I had proven that I could do well in a college environment.
Yeah, the thing is, that was like a no-brainer to them, because it's true. I'm sure they look back at what you had done and where you had been for your first year, and like I say, things always happen for a reason.
No, things always do happen for a reason.
Yeah.
I kind of want to dive into a little bit of you and like your relationship with grandma and your mom, and then just like growing up. What's been the greatest lesson your mom has taught you?
I mean, again, she always let me do what I wanted to do. Like, I'll never forget the time I've always been very close with Grandma, and I'll never forget the time that I decided to move out, and me telling her that I was moving out, and I literally moved 4 streets away.
Big deal back then.
And oh my gosh, we just sat there and we cried, but it was like I needed to just move out and get some independence, because she was always there, And so I literally was 4 streets away.
How old were you when you moved?
I was 23.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, I was 23. And then I ended up, first I was 4 streets away, and then I got out of, I was renting a house with some girlfriends, and then I moved into an apartment with a girlfriend, and I moved 1 street away.
So you were in the same neighborhood.
I was in the same neighborhood, and as a matter of fact, the apartment building was right next to where your daycare
Yeah,
on Brighter
yeah, right.
Beginnings.
Yeah, right on the corner.
Yeah, right on the corner. As a matter of fact, one time I remember I was cooking some onions on the stove, and I was on the phone with Grandma, and the pan went to fall, and I grabbed it. And I remember being on the phone with Grandma, and I'm like, oh my God, I just burned my hand. Not even 3 minutes later, she's like blowing through the door with an aloe plant. I'm like, oh, thank God I don't live across the country.
Can't do that for me.
No, I can't.
Get out the private jet, fly her in.
But things were different when I was a kid. I mean, we grew up in the same house as our grandparents.
I know. When we went to visit her the other day, it blows my mind that she's been living in that same house
for 83 years. Yeah, so that house has been in the family since. So my great grandparents owned it. Then the grandparents, now Grandma. So she's been in her house her entire life.
I really love and appreciate the simplicity. And now there's a lot of things that factor that, where the time that she grew up, it was a different world. You don't have access to media like we do, or cell phones, so you don't realize the opportunity out there. And so much more of a leap if she wanted to just pack up when she was maybe my age and move down to Hartford, Connecticut, because she would have no other way to contact her family except by the phone. And if she called and they weren't there, she was screwed. Now it's like we're attached at the hip. You should be able to access me at any moment in time. So it's a little bit different. But I just appreciate she was able to live a life in that same house her entire life. Like, that just blows my mind.
I know.
It blows my mind.
Yeah. And I mean, she never worked. So when we were kids, she was always there. My dad worked for the paper company, Brown Paper. And, he worked there full time. So Mom, they had one car. She would bring him to work if she needed to have the car, and then one year they bought a moped. My dad bought a moped, and he drove the moped to work every single day. So this way my mom would have she'd have the car.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how old were you when he passed? Your father?
So I was 24 years old when he died,
okay,
and he was only 50.
And you were the oldest of 4 children.
Yeah, the oldest of 4.
So how did that change your relationship with your siblings and your mom, especially after he passed?
Yeah, it was so hard. I can still see the day.
Was it a heart attack again?
No, he had cancer. He had lung cancer. So we found out in October.
Was he a big smoker?
He was a big smoker. Cigarettes, but he had quit 5 years previous.
Wow.
He had quit cold turkey because he had gone to visit someone that he was close friends with that was in the hospital who had cancer.
Wow.
And he was driving.
Lung cancer too?
And he had lung cancer. And he was driving over the bridge from Holyoke to South Hadley, and he threw the pack of cigarettes out the window and never smoked again. And in the end,
5 years later.
Yeah. So he was having back problems, and I just think he then finally he started, coughing, and then they diagnosed him with having lung cancer.
What stage was it when they diagnosed him?
It was stage 4. Yeah. Man. So then he was going to he was having radiation treatments, and then we buried him on Christmas Eve.
Oh,
yeah. Yeah. So for us, for years and years and years, we had no Christmas. You know what I mean? Because it was just too close,
So even now that I know that, I didn't even realize that, but like growing up, especially you have us as kids, are you in the back of your mind always thinking about that on Christmas Eve?
Oh yeah. I mean, I always think about it, and then I think about how he would have loved you guys, yeah. But with Grandma getting remarried to Grandpa, if anyone would have been able to replace my dad, it would be Grandpa, because he liked to hunt and fish. It was like a miniature of my dad, So, and he loves you just like he's there, that you're his own grandchildren, But yeah, Christmas time for us was horrible for a lot of years, But then once I had you guys and, you know, it was, then things change. You know what I mean? He's always in my mind, always in my heart. But it's been over 30, almost 40 years since he's been gone.
Wow.
You know, which is
a long time.
It is. It's a long time.
Yeah.
Long time.
Did you, I know I had made this comment to you, I think when we were driving yesterday to the bank. But even when you were like moving out for the first time and then, you know, moving around within Holyoke, did you ever have any thought or consideration of wanting to really move like out of Massachusetts or to even to Boston? Or did you just feel this was the place you needed to be?
Yeah, I always just felt this was home. You know, I moved from Holyoke to Chicopee. Over the river.
Yeah.
This was the only house I think your dad and I looked at one other house when we were looking to buy a house. I found our house here in a realtor book. I was flipping through it and I looked at it and I liked
a book.
Yep, it was a real estate
I used
book.
Zillow and you had to use a freaking book.
We had to use a book, and I looked at it and I said to Dad, "This is our house." And
so that's how you guys landed in Chicopee. It was purely just like looking through a book of local area
for houses.
Wow.
For houses, and we found this house, and we could, because I worked for the bank that I was going to get my mortgage through, and I think we looked in October. We found it, and the people that were the Simons who owned this before us.
Wow, you know their names.
I know their names.
Wow.
They needed to move because they were relocating to another state. And the thing is, we didn't have to sell anything, so we could move right in. So they said, as long as you can close the day after Thanksgiving,
it's yours.
It's yours. And we were able to do that. I had a commitment letter in my hand the same day that we applied because I worked for the bank. And that's it. I think that day we got the keys, Dad moved out. He took a bunch of stuff from Yale Street where he used to live, and he moved in here. And then we were getting married that May.
So you guys were already engaged when you bought the house together?
Yeah, we were engaged when we bought the house. We were getting married in May. And then he had one of his buddies that he used to work with. He moved in and he rented a room. So he paid $250 a month. So Dad and I were paying for our own wedding. So I said, hey, let him move in.
Yeah, it's going to help us pay this down.
Yeah, but he stayed up in what's our room now. There was no heat in there. That guy, oh, man, he froze his ass off.
12 layers of blankets. Yeah. Oh, my God. So even then, though, there was never – it's just so interesting to me because obviously I think I started to get the itch. I mean, 5th grade is when I think I really started to have that idea of wanting to move to California. But even up before you even met Dad – there was really not like – it was – everything was kind of just good. Everything was good to be here.
Yeah, I mean, I went to Holyoke Community College, and then as soon as I graduated from Holyoke Community College, my mom worked for a bank, and I was like, oh, I think banking would be good. Then I got a full-time job working for Vanguard Savings Bank, and I worked part-time for Food Mart. So everything, you know, all my friends were here.
Yeah.
And, you know, even my girlfriends that went away to college, I don't think I ever remembered going and staying overnight with them because I had a lot of friends that didn't go away.
Yeah, you had a life here, so there's no reason
to
leave it.
you know, the thing is,
it was a different world. It was such a different world.
Yeah, I mean, we were definitely middle income.
Yeah.
You know, so the thought when I wanted to go to Holyoke Community College.
Hobert Community College.
Oh, yeah, Hobert Community
as
College,
the locals know it around here.
As your father says. He was on the 3-year plan. I did it in 2. And your sister did too. But when anything that I wanted to do like that, I did it all on my own.
Yeah.
When I got my first car, I paid for my car. I paid for the insurance. When I got into Holyoke Community College, that was all on me because Grandma didn't go, my dad didn't go. You know, so it was kind of, you know, even Grandma says, she says, you did that all on your own. I'm like, well, if, you know, there was no one else to turn to.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what I did. And I think I went on a grant to Holyoke Community College. As a matter of fact, I got extra money. They bought my first pair of contact lenses for me.
That's a freaking good deal.
Yeah, it was. It was a good deal. So, you know, and I would go to school and then I'd come back. I would take early morning classes and then I would work at at the food mart after.
Yeah.
You know, so
everything just fell into place. I get it.
Yeah.
It's just a different world back then.
It was.
There was no need to go out and push yourself to a different place if you were already happy being
I was happy.
Grandma just celebrated her 83rd birthday.
Yeah.
Still kicking, still strong.
Yeah.
How has your relationship or just the way you view your mom changed even now? She's 83. It's not 43. She's 83. It's
right.
Obviously a number that is realistic of like, this is, she's in the fourth quarter of her life, but she still has the wit about her. She's kicking strong. She's enjoying her coffee. But how do you when you get to see her, even when you're talking to her on the phone, like, do you, and I know she went through some recent hospital things in the last, couple of years, but how has that relationship changed even after, now that she's getting older for you?
It's hard because now thank God for Auntie Susie, because she, between Auntie Susie and myself, we're the ones that are taking care of her.
Yeah. And
like years ago, I remember seeing a bumper sticker that said, "Be good to your kids because they're going to choose your nursing home." And, and that's the farthest thing that we want. And she's at home now, and we want to keep her and Grandpa at home for as long as we can. But it's been hard. I mean, she had to give up her car. Yeah. She was driving since she was 15 years old. So it's, now just like we're the parents now. We're the ones, and it's very hard for her. Like we tried to get, people in to drop off their Meals on Wheels. That lasted 3 days. I don't want them coming here anymore. I'm like, well, at least it gives you something. I don't like their food. I don't want them here. I'm like, okay, fine.
Yeah.
So it's just trying. But I was doing it to try to help us out too.
Yeah, because you have your own life to live.
Yeah, I mean, I'm working, and so it is. It's hard sometimes when I look at her, and I also look at her like physically too, because her, she's not active, and she hasn't been active for a long time, and so I look at her and I go, oh, you know what? That's not how I want to be when I'm 83. You know what I mean? I want to, keep riding my, my Schwinn, soon to be my Peloton when I get
This episode's brought to you by Peloton. Sponsor us, damn it.
So like I say, I look at her and I go, okay, my, in 25 years or whatever down the road, I want to be able to be in good health physically.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I look at her and it's like, she's doing well, but she could be doing better.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And we touch base on our weekly FaceTime calls. But I have recognized, and I, Sue obviously deserves this credit as well, but I know that you've had to step up and not only help them, but you've also been a leader for both of your brothers, which I think just speaks so highly to you at your heart and your soul, because I can't imagine how you're living your own life. You work full time, you're a hardworking person, you have all these other things that you do, and then now you're overseeing Grandma and Grandpa. You're also overseeing your two brothers from time to time, and yeah, I see it, and maybe I don't communicate enough, but you're not only are you a loving mother to your children, but you're also very caring for your brothers and your
thank you. I
your grandma and
appreciate
grandpa,
that.
or your parents, I should say, and stepfather.
Yeah, you do what you have to do for family.
Yeah.
I mean, I look at my two brothers, and I mean, like Franny, my youngest brother, is the most functioning alcoholic that I've ever met in my life. And sometimes it makes me sad because through all the years of after our dad died, and I think that's what sent him off the rail when he first started having his drinking problem.
How old would he have been when your dad passed?
He was only 16 when my dad died.
That's young.
So it was really, he was really young. And so, Franny we've had up and downs with him. There were times where I lost contact with him, but then 6 months would go by. He always know my number never changed, and he would, reach out to me. And like I say, so I've always been here for him. And then, my brother Bobby too. So like I say, it's, sometimes I regret that we don't have, like I really cannot tell you the last time that all four of us were together. And that kind of makes me sad, but like when you guys were younger and then they had their kids, I think, but then as you guys got older and then you got into your sports and all that, we all started going different ways. And so like I say, it does make me sad, but you know what? All families aren't the same.
Yeah.
And I still keep in touch with them, and that's the most important thing.
Yeah. It's also an equal balancing act of effort where you can put out the effort to try to bring the family together and see them, but if they're not even making 50% of the effort, it's give and take. You know what I mean? Like you have to go 50%, they have to meet you 50%, and if they're not trying to do that and bring the family together, then it's like there's only so much you can do. Otherwise, you're just burning yourself out trying to get everybody together. Yeah, you can't control the decisions of other people and how they want to live their lives. But yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Let's get into you and Bird.
Oh gosh. Okay.
Bird Hobert. How many years of marriage as of now?
32. It'll
Jeez.
be. No, 31.
31?
30.
No, because the cruise was 2019, right?
19, yeah. So 20, which would be 31.
Oh,
so
right.
next year will be 32.
Wow. 32 going on 50 plus years.
Oh, God, yes. I always say I have 3 children. I gave birth to 2.
I never heard that one. What's the secret to having a lasting and loving relationship like that? 31 plus
God.
years.
I know, that's a long time, huh? Holy crap. Oh, God. Well, I think it's just give and take. He has certain things that he excels in and that he does, like the cleaning.
Definitely got that down.
Yeah, he definitely got that down. I kind of took over the nurturing part of it, and I think he did what he wanted to do. If he wanted to go out with his friends, and he would do it. If I wanted to go out with my friends, I would do it. But he's just such a great, kind soul that he makes it easy to be with him for that many years. I'm the one that can tend to be, he always says to me that it's a wonder I don't have high blood pressure, and I'm like, well, because
you're the one that has the high blood pressure.
Yeah. And he's the one that has it. And I'm like, yeah, but if he pisses me off about something, it comes out and then it's over and done with. Where he freaking beats the horse is dead. And he will go on and on and on. And then I get to a point, I'm like, the horse is dead. Leave it alone. So that's I think the secret is just a balance. Like when you guys were in school, when you were in grammar school, I used to always throw this at him. So what's Bobby's second grade teacher's name? What's their doctor's name? And I'd always say to him, do you want to write a list of what you do and what I do and compare it? And we never did. But that's when he would embarrass him. That's when he would shut up. He'd be like, "Yeah, okay, all right, I'm not going to win this battle."
Oh my God! I used to sometimes in high school when we had the sign in return, like if you got below like a 60.
Yeah.
I think I forged his handwriting one time.
Yeah.
To show that my parents had saw the grade, and I think I brought it home one day by accident, and you saw it, and I think you called it out and was like, "This is not your father's handwriting," or something. I was like, "Fuck."
You did that?
I think so, yeah. I did. Oh, gosh. How did you know he was the one?
Oh gosh. Well, it's funny because I had seen him at this bar in Springfield. It's called the Keg Room. And I mean, back in those days, our our weekend started on Wednesday nights. It was like 50-cent drafts at the keg room,
Jeez.
And I remember just kind of catching a glimpse of him, and I'm like, oh, he's not that bad looking.
Mustache or no?
He had a mustache. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, he's not that bad looking. And so then his brother, so Joey, dated Aaron, and I hung out with Aaron.
Your friend? Was that your friend?
Yeah,
oh, okay.
Aaron graduated from high school with Auntie Susie, and it was we officially met St. Patrick's Day weekend.
Oh, what a weekend to meet in Holyoke.
Yeah. Well, we met. I think it was the weekend. I think it was the weekend before, and so I saw him, and then it was like, oh, and he said, oh, well, who's that? So then St. Patrick's Day weekend, I was going over a friend's house for a party, and then that's when we officially, like, we didn't have cell phones back then, so it was like in those days you had to wait by the phone for them to call. So and that was it. So officially, that was our first time that we really started talking was St. Patrick's Day weekend, and being from Holyoke on St. Patrick's Day. The rest is history.
How I don't want to say difficult, I don't want to say interesting, but how was it when you started seeing him, and he is one of 10 children, and he has 7 brothers?
Oh, yeah. Well, the funny thing is Grandma and his mother worked together. They went to school together. Okay. They were in grammar school together. So the first time I met them, when I said, oh, I'm Ann Foley's daughter. Oh, so right away I was okay.
You already got the check plus.
I already got the check plus. But having to call that house, okay, so now you would call, and now everyone used to be there, and they used to have the cellar, and that's where everyone used to hang out, okay? So you would call. I'd call to ask for Danny. And so, oh, hold on a minute. So then Joey would get on the phone. And I'm like, Joey, it's Karen. I'm looking for Danny. Oh, hold on a minute. Then I'd get Billy. Then I would get Tommy. And then I got to the point. Now this time I'm like, would someone put Danny on the phone? I got to the point I said, I'm not calling over there anymore because I'm talking to all your brothers before I even get to you. And they were the biggest jokesters ever. Yeah. They were just, the things that they used to do to each other, it was just a big joke. Their lives were just, this is so fun. This is so fun. So, it was interesting having to date him with
that big of a family.
And
the reason that it would take so long to get to him on the phone would be because you would say, hey, is Danny there? And Michael would put down the phone and say, Tommy, it's for you. So that was part of the joke. The phone's actually for the next person. Yeah. And it would just keep going.
It would just keep going. So fortunately, if I called when there was only 3 of them there, I'd only have to go through 3 of them. But if they were all there partying or watching the Celtics or the Red Sox or whatever, you could go through.
What a time to be dating. You guys had to physically pick up the phone and call somebody and hope they were there. Meanwhile, we have these cell phones on us. You can hit people up, slide in their DM. You can text them. You can FaceTime them. You can call them. It's so much more. You have so much more contact to them at all times that it's like the access for relationship and dating in today's world is so much different because you just have access to anybody and everybody. And so you really when you had to pick up the phone and call, you had to really put time and effort into trying to make that. Then say, hey, let's meet at this bar at 7 p.m. And then you'd have to just roll the dice and go there. And if they're not there, you're like,
right.
It's 7:30. Like, do we leave? It's not pick up the phone like, oh, are you on your way? Or shoot them a text like,
oh, yeah. And then if there was no caller ID, okay, then there was no, so if you tried calling, so if you said, okay, I'm going to call you at 6 o'clock, but if someone else was on the phone, you would get, so the phone would be busy. That used to happen all the time when my Uncle Joe used to call, and he would try calling the house. And I would be the one on the phone. I'd be on the phone for a half an hour, and then finally he'd get through and he'd say, "Who the hell's been on that phone?" Because there was no way of knowing that someone else was calling.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There was no...
You couldn't switch over to the other line.
There was
say,
no
"Hey, we'll call you
switching
back."
over. Nope, no switching over.
Wow.
Yeah, so it was quite the time with all of his brothers and sisters. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
And the rest is history.
Yep, the rest is history.
How has he made you a better person?
Oh, gosh. You know, I don't... He's just, like, I look at him and he just... Like, I can't stay mad at him for a long time. So he's made me, like, just kind of chill out, you know, where, you know, there's times where I would want to do a rip-roaring fight with him, you know, to get, for something that he really pissed me off over. But he just doesn't. He doesn't want to argue. So, you know, so like I say, I mean, I look at him and it's like sometimes I look at him and I'm like, you know, I don't appreciate him enough. But I just know, I look at him and I'm like, you know what? You guys couldn't have gotten a better dad.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? He really genuinely cares for everyone. And he's just such a kind soul.
Yeah.
You know, like I look at Mike Dvorak that Dad used to work with, and he, you know, he passed away maybe like 2 years ago, and his wife Barb, and, you know, we get the caller ID, it comes up, and I'd be like, "Oh, Dad, you know, Barb's on the phone," and just listen. He would just sit there and listen to her and talk to her. And I know that she was crying on the phone because she had lost her husband, but he's just such a compassionate person.
Yeah.
You know, you get the gift of gab from your father. I always say that I could put your dad in a room with a rock and he would have a conversation with that rock. You know, it's true. I mean, I never had to worry if we had a bank, you know, something going on at the bank, and, you know, he would come and I would invite him. I never had to worry about him not being able to. He can talk to anyone.
Yeah.
You know, so in that respect, he's made me, you know, a better person because he's just a kind soul.
Yeah, he's and he doesn't ask for much. Very easygoing.
Oh my God.
Just needs his Boston sports.
Yeah,
That's
his
it.
Budweiser,
and that's it.
Yeah, and I used to always, I mean, the clothes that he wears clothes that are probably T-shirts that are 15, 20 years old.
Yeah.
But I used to always say, you know what? It's more money for us to spend on our clothes. Going to Hollister.
Yeah.
Going to
God.
Abercrombie.
Rest
you know?
in peace to those days,
oh,
huh?
my God. And those were the days where they didn't have a lot of sales either. So it was like you guys wanted stuff and it was like, oh, okay.
Do not miss those days.
Yeah. Oh, I don't miss them either.
Oh, God, yeah. I'm just thinking about the Abercrombie and the Hollister American Eagle Aeropostale.
I remember.
I went through every phase as a kid. I went through the
did.
goth phase and dark clothes and Hot Topic, and then I went through the prep phase.
Yep. Oh, I know. I remember one time I went up to the mall to get a pair of shorts, and you were with me. I wanted to get Dad some board shorts in Hollister, and it was almost like you didn't even want to be seen in Hollister. And I'm like, you come into this store with me.
God,
I spent
Bob.
enough money in this store. Then remember when we used to go when you were doing your Xbox, and you had to go with me because when the new games came out,
The Maturity M,
and I remember the guy used to always say, now, you know, this is M for maturity. There's a lot of blood and gore. And I'm like, oh, the more blood and the more gore, the better, you know? Oh, you'd always drag me there to get you your...
He needed you, 17 plus.
Yeah, I know it. I know
below
it.
the age.
So you could have been having me go to a package store to get you alcohol.
I
wouldn't have done that.
That's what he's Bird for. You were for the video games. He was for the booze
Yeah,
run.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Well, now you're learning. I asked my Instagram community, like, if there's any questions, because I said that I was doing a podcast with you, and Tommy T said, thoughts on Bruce Springsteen and Bird's obsession.
Oh, my God. Oh, jeez. When I stop and think of the money that has been spent on Bruce Springsteen tickets.
He's invested in them.
He really is. And he used to always go. I went to one Bruce Springsteen concert, and it was phenomenal. And then he started going with my sister, with Auntie Susie, because the tickets, if I would have gone, I mean, there's been times where Dad has spent $250, $300, $400 on tickets.
Committed.
times 2. That's why I said, no, I'm not going to go. I mean, everything evolves around Bruce Springsteen or Boston sports. I mean, when we FaceTime you on Sundays, right? I mean, he'll start talking about his sports
he's locked in on it. Always.
He is just locked in on it. I mean, I don't know what's ever going to happen if anything ever happens to Bruce Springsteen, because I think that your father will. I can't even think about
it. Break his heart.
It's gonna. I mean, and even
Bruce is 70 something probably. 76?
Yeah, but he looks good.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'll tell you, he is one
Don't
hot
leave Karen
looking
Hobert
guy
with Bruce Springsteen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's his man is Bruce.
I know. Bruce goes on tour. Bird goes on tour.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Dad stayed up the other night, 2 weeks ago, because he was the guest host. He was the musical guest on Saturday Night Live. I can't tell you the last time your dad stayed up. He stayed up for both songs for Bruce Springsteen.
Anything with Bruce related, he'll be there for it.
You got it. You know it.
Is there a question you've always wanted to ask me, or something that pops to your mind from things that we've talked about today? Anything. No filter.
No filter.
Anything you wanted to know or ask me?
Is there any? Let me see. Oh, that's a tough one. I can't believe you didn't bring up the air conditioners that we didn't let you buy.
I didn't want to disrespect you guys, but yeah, I was willingly, for context for those listening, maybe this will give you time to think of a question, but growing up, we didn't have air conditioning units in our house. We didn't have central air, so their philosophy was open the window, put in a fan, which worked at nighttime when it was cooler out, but in the summertime, we'd be cooking in this house, so I offered to use my hard-earned money to buy an air conditioner, and then to the point I offered to buy the entire house, the units, and they wouldn't allow me to do it. So then they decide, Bob's moving to California. Perfect. Fuck it. Let's get central air. So not until I moved out did you get central air, and now you guys want to brag about, the house is so cold. We got to wear sweatshirts and bundle up.
Do you remember that first time that you FaceTimed
Yeah,
us?
you guys were freaking mittens and hats on.
And we're like, we're so cold in here.
And then you know what? You love when you FaceTime me and I'm sitting out in 70-degree weather in the middle of December. And you guys
I know. And I'm like,
you gotta do this to me.
Yeah, and you were like, I don't want to show you this. And then you show us the blue sky, or you're at the
California
beach,
living, baby.
Well, you know what? I mean, what is your favorite childhood memory? Like what do you?
Yeah, I think. Man, that's a good question. I really appreciated the holidays. Yeah. Every holiday, we would always do something with family. Mm-hmm. Even when we went to see Steve Wietek, yesterday, me and Dad drove over to Holyoke, and before we went to Steve's house, we were approaching Yale Street. I said, take a right on Yale Street. I want to go just drive by the house. And he goes to take the turn, and it was nostalgia just flicked on, because the snow and taking a right onto Yale Street, I can remember all the Christmases that we'd spend there. Like Chris and Chad would come up from Connecticut. Other family would, Billy and Nancy would come up with Jack and Amanda, and we'd spend Christmas. I think Day we'd stop by there at sometimes, or just during the holidays we'd do they would do the Hobert Christmas party there at Yale Street.
Yeah.
So I think just all those holidays where we spent time with family, in general, didn't matter which holiday. Those are some of my favorite memories, just because it was always a very welcoming group. But I mean, other than that, we had talked about it earlier, but I can't say it's a specific favorite memory, but I just think it was so crucial for me and Alyssa developing into who we are, where you guys just supported us to the max on anything that we wanted to try.
Right.
Bird, and I think sometimes you might have sat outside of Jerry's music shop in South Hadley for about 2 years too long, because I was still showing up, taking these damn lessons, thinking overnight I was going to become John Mayer, and I'd leave the 30-minute lesson and be like, fuck this, not picking this up till next week. And you guys kept doing it, and you kept paying for the lesson. You kept taking the time to sit in the parking lot. Summers, kind of goes off the family time of spending it at Auntie Susie's. We'd go over there in the pool.
Going to Maine.
Yep.
Going to Wells Beach.
That's classic. Wells Beach. Going out to Cape to see
Ellie. Yeah.
I just I just think back on my childhood, and I couldn't be more appreciative of it. Even the time where we were sitting in the TV room, and I was like, I want to make money, and I was 12, I think at the time. I was in 7th grade, and you said you want. I remember it was like a gray day, and it was probably end of March, early April. Do you want me to call your Uncle John? You want me to see if he needs extra help? And that day, you guys drove me over. Started working at the age of 12. Started learning and appreciating, a dollar bill. Trying to think what else.
Yeah, I think you guys did. I think looking back that I wouldn't have done it any different. I remember when we went to Disney. You lost a tooth in Disney, and
that trip was amazing.
You got a Disney dollar, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here you are. You're at Disney, and the Tooth Fairy found you here, And I remember buying you guys Game Boys because I didn't want you to get bored by having to wait in line.
Wow.
So, you each went with a brand new Game Boy so that you would have that while you were waiting in line. And we had a fast pass, so we didn't end up having to wait in line, So it was like, I always tried to think and be proactive, like, how am I going to make it easier for you guys and then for us, because I didn't want to have to be listening to you guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just looking back at, this is a different year for, you guys. We would have been able to go down to Connecticut last weekend or this past weekend with Danny's side of the family, with Dad's side and with all the cousins and all of that. But, with everything that's going on in the world, it was smart to not have it.
Yeah.
And I'm just glad, but we'll have our Christmas in July.
Mm-hmm.
And
better time to celebrate Christmas when the sun's out.
That's it. That'll be nice. And plus we'll all look good in tans. So that's that's another plus. But it's just so nice having you guys here with us and not doing there's not much to do.
Yeah.
But just to be together.
Yeah.
That's the most important thing, and that's what I really enjoy the most is just having you guys here.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like I'm very aware of like this is a very 7-8 days here. It's just like touch and go, and then we leave, and then we're gone for a couple months at a time. And it sometimes it is like where were we yesterday? Oh, even like last night we were with John and just seeing him and his sister together, and I'm just like, man, that. And they're talking about where they went to they're going to their parents for Christmas, and then I'm like, man, I put myself in a position where I can't do that because I decided to pack up and move across the country, and it does get to me sometimes where I'm like, I kind of not beat myself up, but I'm like, this is your decision. You're the one that chose to move across the country and to chase these dreams and to do this, or even like. For the guy that I work under at Liquid IV, he grew up in Manhattan Beach, California, and so we were talking about how he had to hang a TV on his wall a couple weeks ago. He's like, I had to have my father come over, and I don't like bothering him, and blah blah blah. And then in my mind, I'm like, I can't even do that. I can't even ask my father to come help me because I decided to live on the other side of the country. But I try to now, especially when I come home, is to not set my schedule up and try running around and trying to check in and see people. It's like, I'm here to see you guys. And if there's people that I need to see, it'll happen. But I'm not, I think the first couple of trips that I'd come back from California, I'm like hitting all these people up, like trying to set things up. And then I realized like, why am I spending time running around trying to see people when I'm here to see you, Dad, Alyssa, and then, some of those hand-selected friends.
Right.
But, yeah. I mean, I appreciate the holidays, and I appreciate being back for it now.
And I think also, it's just nice having you guys here with us, And I remember when you were graduating from high school, and I saw a Dr. Seuss quote, And the quote, and this is the only thing that kept me from not like bawling my eyes out while you were getting your diploma. And I think the quote goes, don't cry because it's happening, smile. No, don't cry because it's over, smile because it's happening.
Oh, that's nice.
And that, right there has gotten me through so much because it's true. You know what I mean? I'm so happy, for you, the next chapter of where you're going to end up. And, and even with your sister too, just, I'm a proud mama, and, I couldn't have asked for two better kids.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we're very lucky to have you.
Well, thank you.
By the time this rolls out, like I told you, this could be on your 60th birthday. What's at the top of your bucket list right now? Mind you, this is being recorded 3 days before Christmas, so it's going to be a little bit of time before this.
And there's snow outside, and it's sunny.
Oh, burn that snow up.
Yeah.
But what's on your bucket list?
Well, we'd like to get out to see you.
Yeah.
We're hoping to be able to see you in, maybe the end of April, beginning of May. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't mind going somewhere where it's warm for my birthday. Maybe Florida. I mean, that time Dad and I went for our 25th wedding anniversary. We went to Fort Lauderdale.
Yeah.
We Ubered. We stayed at the hotel. We plunked ourselves on the beach, and that was it. And we just walked. So I wouldn't mind doing something like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It'll probably be a spur of the moment thing, you know. But I wouldn't mind doing that, But
even outside of your birthday, though, just in general, are there anything like bucket list items that you want to accomplish or do? Is there anything that you still have never done that you've always wanted to do?
No? I don't think. Okay. I don't think there really is. There really is anything.
Okay.
I think I've kind of accomplished what I'm sure after we leave, I'm going to think of a gazillion things. I'm like, oh shit!
There's no going back.
I should have told them that.
I straight through, no cutting out anything.
I should have said this, or I should have said that. No, I mean, just for me as your mom is just seeing you guys happy and living your life. I mean, Dad's retired now. Me figuring out, well, when is the right time for me to retire? I just want everyone to be happy, and with everyone being happy, that makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, I just want to make sure everyone stays healthy too. Mm-hmm. And, so I don't really have anything major. Yeah. I'd like to go horseback riding again too on the beach. I did that once. I'd like to do it again. Mm-hmm. Which that's kind of a silly thing, but
no,
it
it's
is
not
what
silly.
It is. What it is.
Freaking dream.
I'd like to own a horse someday.
Yeah,
so why don't you buy
silly.
me one for my 60th birthday?
Let me freaking start saving up. All right.
Get me a horse.
Let me pull some strings. Let me see what I can do. I think the beach for your 60th is definitely something doable, though. So I'll start planting the seed and bird for that one.
Well, no, I'm the one that would have to do that.
Yeah,
so.
He wouldn't know how to book it.
No, he wouldn't know how to book it. No.
How can I become a better son?
I don't think you can be a better son. You get it. You get it that you're away, that it's hard for us sometimes. You FaceTime us when we, on Sundays, and you just get it. I mean, I couldn't ask for a better son. I couldn't be more proud of you. I just love you to pieces.
I love you too.
Yeah.
I appreciate
you
that.
made me a mom.
Yeah. I did before Alyssa, which means I should be number one above her. So let's just get that stated out there, Alyssa, if you're listening. At the end of every podcast, I allow the guests to put a challenge out there to the listeners. Anybody that listened to the entire podcast, I want you to challenge them something that could help them be a better person, or that would make them maybe be a better son or daughter to their parents. So what's a challenge that you would have for anyone that listened this far on the podcast?
Well, I would challenge them to do what you do. Pick up the phone, send a text, just a hi mom, hi dad, thinking about you, I love you. That to me as a parent, Because I have a lot of friends that are parents, and and their kids don't do that. So I would challenge any of your listeners out there that if they haven't taken the time to just do a spontaneous text to mom or dad, you just don't understand how it is. And sometimes I'll be sitting at work thinking about you, and then all of a sudden it's like the weirdest thing. All of a sudden my phone will ding, and it's you, saying, I love you. Have a great day. So I would challenge them to do that. Just, and it could be a brother or a sister. It could be someone, but just pick up that phone and just,
I love that.
Just do it.
I love that. This has been everything that I imagined to do a podcast with you today. I didn't, I had, like I said, I spent some time just kind of thinking about some of the topics that I wanted to at least hit with you, but I knew this was going to be an incredible conversation, and I'm honored to capture this and share it. And I think it'll be interesting for people to learn a little bit more about me growing up, but I think more specifically, and I had one of my buddies, Maliv's out there, Matt Oliveira, if you hear this, he was the one that I told you the day that I called you, I think it was after Thanksgiving, I told you, say, hey, when I come back, I'm planting the seed now, and just to give you a heads up, when I come back for Christmas, I want to do a podcast. And then that day he hit me up. The next day he said, yo, you should do a podcast with one of your parents. I don't know if you ever thought about that. And I was like, interesting enough, I just hit my mom up. It's going to happen. And then I did a pod with my father a couple years ago. But I think what's really the takeaway from this is why I am who I am is because of you and Dad. And it's without a doubt, there's no question about it. And I mean, there's no way for me to say it more easily. I could spend an hour on a podcast just expressing the gratitude, but in real honest truth, I wouldn't be who I am today if it wasn't for you and Dad, and I couldn't have asked for better parents. You guys have given Alyssa and I everything we could have ever asked for: a house with a roof over it, food always on the table, supportive in any decision making that we ever had. You just genuinely cared about us being happy, and I couldn't be more thankful to call you Mom.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
Did everything I could have ever asked for.
Well, that, I feel the same way for you, because I look at how passionate you are about what you do. Mm-hmm. When you were doing the podcast and you were starting off, and I used to go, oh my gosh, he's out there driving for Uber. That's how you're paying your bills. You're not making anything by doing these podcasts, but yet week after week after week, you are out there doing this, setting people up, having conversations, doing the research so that you can have a good conversation with people. Mm. And, this is just the beginning of your career. Mm. I don't know where you're going to be in 5 years. But it's just, you're just going up and up and up. You know what I mean? And it's just, what you're doing, where you are at Liquid IV, it was meant to be. Yeah. And what you're doing with all of your podcasts too. And, and when you would call me and you told me I was going to, be on it, I was like, oh my God. I'm like, Karen, don't think into this too much. Don't think into this too much, And I'm like, don't be nervous. It's your son. You know what I mean? Oh my God. And I mean, here we are sitting in my, my nice comfortable room here, and it's just
my first bedroom.
Yeah, your first bedroom.
The room that I realized there was no such thing as a tooth fairy when birds slid under the 5. I was on the top bunk, Alyssa's underneath, and I peeked over. I opened my eye a little bit. I go, that's not the fucking tooth fairy. And he slithered on out, and I reached in there, I saw $5 and said, well, I'm making money, so just keep your mouth shut.
But no, I just I couldn't be any prouder. I just love you more than words can say. And I'm just glad to be sitting across from you today.
Well, I love you too.
I love you.
Awesome. Well, I hope you guys and gals enjoyed this podcast. Oh boy, there's a lot on this that I think the name of the podcast should be called Dramatic Bob.
DB.
DB. Well, thank you guys and gals for tuning in. We will catch you guys and gals soon enough. It's your favorite bearded man signing off. See ya.
See ya.